Hello, dear friend. In today's video, we are going to talk about the upcoming solar eclipse and how you can prepare for this. It's happening on Saturday, the 4th of December, and it will be on the 13th degree of Sagittarius. So before we get to the actual solar eclipse, I want to talk a little bit about the days before that, because something quite important happens. On the 1st of December, on Wednesday, we are having Neptune turning direct, which means that Neptune is stationary. Before the eclipse, on the eclipse, and maybe even a little bit after that. So, even right now, as I'm filming this video, I already feel this energy, the Neptunian energy surrounding us. If you have a strong Pisces or Neptunian energy in your chart, of course you will feel this even stronger, like myself. But overall, it creates like a background atmosphere, which is bringing more of our subconscious ideas. It really triggers the subconscious mind. You may notice that you need more sleep, or that your dreams are vivid and feel like they are really important. That's all Neptune. So this is a time when we need to slow down. Neptune being stationary, and also upcoming solar eclipse, which means that we are right now at the end of this lunar cycle. And on a physical level, the energy is very, very weak. So allow yourself more time to relax, to do something creative, to do something spiritual. And I honestly find this so helpful because quite often, especially if you're this type of person who is a high achiever or wants to grow and all of this, which is generally great, but sometimes we might push ourselves more. And there are times when it's just not working so well to do it. And this is one of those times. So instead of pushing yourself really hard, I need to do this, I need to achieve this, I need to handle this or learn or whatever, just slow down and relax. We all need this. We need this pause. So basically, during the whole week, but especially on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week, we need to allow ourselves to take it slower and give ourselves more space. Now, in terms of the actual solar eclipse, which is on Saturday, first, we need to know that this is not an intense or really challenging, suppressing, difficult lunation. Actually, there are some pretty supportive aspects, and we don't have something to push us that hard. So overall, if I may call this, I would say it's kind of an easier lunation. However, an eclipse is always energetically important. And I want to remind you a few details about what a solar eclipse is and why it is important. Basically, we have a conjunction between the sun and the moon. Regular new moon, we have one of those each month. But when one of the nodes, it could either be south or north node, in both cases, we still have an eclipse. When one of the nodes is nearby the sun and the moon, there is a solar eclipse. And here I want to remind you something very interesting from an astronomical point of view. So, of course, we know that the sun and the moon have different size, like physically, as planetary objects, they have different sizes. But because the distance to the Earth is also different, there is a compensation. So the sun is approximately 400 times bigger than the moon physically as an object, but the moon is around 400 times closer to the Earth compared to the sun. So what happens is there is a compensation, but it's not like 100%. There is still a tiny difference. So with the naked eye, when we look at the sun during the day and the moon during the night, especially when we can see the whole shape of the moon, they kind of seem equally large. And when there is a solar eclipse, so the moon gets right in front of the sun, but the sun is still a tiny bit larger from our perspective as we can see it. So even when there is a solar eclipse and the moon is right in front of the sun, so we can't see it, there is still like a tiny disk, or what's that called, like a circle of the sun that is still visible. So I'm not recommending looking at the sky. We know this is dangerous for the eye, but I'm talking from a symbolic and occult perspective. So the sun is a little bit larger than the moon. And this is very important for our understanding because the sun represents the conscious mind, our awareness. And the moon, this is more about the subconscious and of course many other things. So what this fact means, the fact that the sun is a little bit larger than the moon, is that we always need to keep our awareness. And even when it seems like the sun is invisible, or in other words, when we feel in life like we can't understand, we feel lost, we feel confused, there is always a tiny bit which is available. So I guess we can say that if you reach out, you will always find, even if it's a little bit of awareness, and that is enough. So you might want to explore this on your own and see also what you can find as a conclusion or an insight, I'd rather say. So this time also it's interesting that we have the South Node in conjunction with the Sun and the Moon. And this is very important for our understanding of the meaning and the energy of this eclipse. So the South Node is related to the past. It's related to what we can let go of, what we need to release. So this solar eclipse is great for us to recognize the things that we are ready to let go of, the things that are no longer relevant in our life. Generally, this may mean anything which you have as a concept about yourself which is not true. Everything which you have adopted from the external environment which is not in harmony with your own truth. And why am I talking about truth? Well, because of the sign. The sign of this eclipse is Sagittarius. And the highest meaning of Sagittarius is your philosophy, your understandings, your belief system. And now is the time to be very honest with ourselves and to check with ourselves. Is there something which is just irrelevant? Especially when it comes to some kind of assumptions about yourself, about your identity, about your importance. Because there is another moment here. This solar eclipse is great for recognizing and releasing the shadow of the sign of Sagittarius. So, which is the shadow, or which are the possible difficulties that may come from this sign, from Sagittarius and Jupiter's energy? Well, first of all, this could be the idea that you're not important, that other people should tell you what you should do, kind of like following the social direction, and also the idea that prestige is the most important thing, that external success is the most important thing, that if you are not successful according to social what should we say this, requirements or understandings, then it means you're not important. So you may or may not have some of those. Usually on a certain level, we do have some things that we have adopted from the environment. And now is the time to recognize those shadows coming from the energy of Sagittarius and any false assumptions and beliefs. Beliefs that if you are not successful according to social understandings and requirements, then you are not successful at all. Then you are not important. Then your life doesn't have a meaning. This could be the shadow of Sagittarius. Also, another perspective. If you feel like you know everything, this can also be a shadow of Sagittarius. If you feel like you are the only one who's competent, if you don't trust the competence of other people. This is, again, something specific. It won't apply to everyone, but those are the things that you can explore for yourself. Generally, what is your relationship with knowledge, with philosophy, with ideology? And then search for your own truth. How you're going to find your own truth? Well, by getting rid of everything which doesn't belong to you, everything that doesn't feel okay. And from a more practical perspective, this is a great time also to go through your own goals and see, are they still relevant? Are they your goals? This is probably the most important. And just allow yourself to cross the ones that don't feel you like, and the ones that you just don't feel inspired to pursue. Something else which is also pretty important. What is your perspective about the future? And is it truly yours? Again, if you tend to live too much surrounded by maybe social media or news or, things, energy, information that comes more from other people, and if you allow yourself to shape your perspective or your expectations about the future based on what other people are saying, and nowadays that is not something usually optimistic. Illness, economy issues, money issues. If you allow yourself to be influenced by this, subconsciously you may shape this idea or really pessimistic expectation about the future, and that is never helpful, as you know. So again, get rid of the layers, the external layers, which are not yours, until you get to the essence of what is truly yours. Even if there's something which is yours, but you feel like it's not serving you, it's not helping you, you may still let it go. So here, the essence is to get to what really inspires you. And the rest should go, really. It's time to let it go. Something pretty interesting is also that Jupiter, which is the ruler of the solar eclipse, is in Aquarius, having a quintile with the actual eclipse. And the quintile is an aspect which brings changes, aspect which can bring some kind of shifts or new choices. So now is the time to make new choices about your social life, about your goals, about something that you want to expand, and also your priorities. What feels like the most important for you right now? Do you want to focus on your career, on your family, on education, on self-care, serving other people? obviously there could be many directions, but which is your current priority right now? And if you're listening this before the eclipse, it's quite normal if you feel confused. If you feel, oh my gosh, what should I do? I don't really know. I'm confused. Yes, I hear you. And it's, again, very normal with Neptune being stationary. So allow yourself to see things as they are, even if it means seeing the blurry reality or the confusing reality or the confusing state within yourself. Again, this is the truth, or at least it might be the truth. And Sagittarius is first of all about the truth. So again, give yourself the space, but then the closer we get to the eclipse, and actually right after the eclipse, you may recognize that you are getting closer to the deeper truth. Again, first, it may show up as some kind of frustration. This may feel like, again, getting rid of the layers. For example, recognizing, you know what, this goal doesn't inspire me anymore. It's so frustrating. I really wanted to do this, or I felt it's important for me. So it feels like frustration, but on a deeper level, it's just opening the space. You can get rid of this. And then the other thing and the other thing, and what's left will be the actual truth. It's like the nut inside. So if you feel like this process is starting with some kind of frustration, there is anything wrong with you. It is normal. So the South Node, the one which is part of the eclipse, is about releasing, separating, losing something. But please keep in mind, we are never losing things that have a real importance and meaning for us right now. If it feels like you are losing something, this is really the right thing for you. It is the best thing for you. Even though it may feel like something frustrating, at the end, this is for your own good and for your own growth. And of course, Sagittarius is about our growth. So get rid of those external requirements, standards of who you should be, who you are supposed to be, what successful people should be, or wise people should be, whatever clicks for you. And then you will get to something much more meaningful. So reassessment, change of goals, and of course, lots of attention to philosophy, to your own wisdom, and searching for the truth. The other positive aspect which is supporting the solar eclipse is coming from Saturn. Saturn, which is also in Aquarius, just like Jupiter, has a sextile with the solar eclipse. So basically, we have a pretty positive connection here between the energy of Sagittarius and Aquarius. And those two signs can actually be great friends with each other. They have lots of things which are in common. They are all oriented on the future. They are oriented on the truth and wisdom. They can be quite spiritual. So, of course, those might be some important themes for all of us right now. And with the energy of Saturn, you can focus on some more practical things and materializing some of those ideas, or having some kind of structure, organizing something. Again, maybe related to your goals or your future or anything which feels like is really important. So again, Sagittarius, Aquarius are helping each other. The other aspect which is also pretty interesting is coming from Uranus, which happens to be the ruler of Aquarius. So it's bringing even more of this energy. And Uranus is having a quincunx with the solar eclipse. And this may feel like something shaking our foundation, something which at the beginning may push us a little bit to make changes, but eventually the outcome might be really positive. So it's also indicating some kind of changes which are necessary. Again, seeking for the truth, for wisdom, and also opening up the space for something different and something new. So those are the major aspects. There is one more which actually includes Mercury, and Mercury is right next to the lunar eclipse, right next to the sun and the moon. So of course the mind will be very triggered, and there could be ideas that might be reshaped, or we can analyze the situation in a different way. So lots of focus to the mind, but we should say the philosophical mind. This is the one, the side which is more triggered, because Sagittarius is more relevant to this. So again, as we can see, we don't have something extremely dramatic, something extremely harsh about this solar eclipse. Yes, there is Neptune stationary, bringing maybe the confusion, the foggy situations. There is a quincunx with Uranus, which can provoke us, so there could be something surprising. But overall, the eclipse can help you to get closer to your own truth. Okay, my friends, I think that's pretty much it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know in the comments if something important is triggered in your chart. For me, this eclipse feels important because it's right on top of my Saturn. So there will be some shifts, there will be some changes. I would like to know what is triggered in your chart and how do you feel about the eclipse. And please don't forget that the days before the eclipse may feel, I would say, even more intense than the actual eclipse. So it's normal, there's nothing wrong with you. Allow it to be the way it needs to be. Thank you so much again, and I will see you soon.